on Twitch and TikTok. It should be up now. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to this episode of the Razcast U14 Impressions with Fresh Baked Goods and our
Hello.
esteemed guest, Mr. Soul Sniper. Soul Sniper, woo! The face reveal.
Oh,
What?
guys.
So just a quick preface. The Razcast is every Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We talk about gaming, primarily Hella Loose, as we're all Hella Loose content creators here. And we have different guests. This week, again, we're super excited to have Soul Sniper. We'll go ahead and get into Soul Sniper in just a second. But if you haven't checked out his channel, definitely go ahead and check out his channel here. You can type in !Soul into the chat, and you'll be able to go ahead and see his channel there. Give me 1 second. There we go. All right, here we
Back to
go.
worse.
Sorry, yeah. No, I wanted to make sure I had the other chat up. I couldn't see the other chat. Sorry. All righty. So without further ado, Mr. Soul Sniper, who are you? Introduce yourself. Welcome.
Hey. Yeah, no, I look like Chris Kyle. Yeah, apparently. All of us, except for Raz, we're just big, white, bearded guys, it seems.
Yeah, Raz, get better.
I'm
Bruh.
a carbon copy of Mr. Fresh Baked Goods. No, I'm Soul Sniper. Real name's Patrick, if you're curious. But I have a YouTube channel. I create guides and gameplay videos for Hell Let Loose and, likely other shooters as I kind of expand that world a little bit. But yeah, I run my own Hell Let Loose server. So if anybody's ever been out there looking for servers, check out the Soul Sniper Soldiers of Fortune server out there. Love to host you. And yeah, I'm just a dad and a sweaty gamer. Not a sweaty gamer. I'm a casual gamer. I just happen to be sweaty for real.
I will say, I don't even know if you keep up on it. I think it's been for a while now. Soul Sniper's been ranked like the #1 US server for Hell Loose on Battle Metrics for
Yeah.
like a while now. It's been doing real well.
Yeah, on and
People are
off.
loving
Yeah,
it.
it's crazy. It's crazy. I've always kind of thought it's kind of like the casual man server, if you will. I mean, obviously having all the YouTube guides and everything, I think funnels a lot of people into that server as kind of I guess, a safe zone to start playing the game and learning it as they go without being greeted not so nicely by hostile veterans who don't want to deal with it. But um, yeah, I think we've just tried to make it as welcoming as possible, and I think it's people enjoy it.
I think everyone
So it's
appreciates
doing
that.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've definitely started growing pretty significantly too. I know like you're one of the main guide folks now. I think it's you, Terry, Mono, and I always say his name wrong. Gabatron? Gabatron? Gabatron?
Gavatron
Garbitron?
Gaming,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's like the main guys. And yeah, I'm really happy to see you've had a very successful server. And you have 2 servers now too, right?
Yeah,
Is it
we tried kind of doing like the level locked, level 50 plus server. It worked, but it was tough to get people to seed because half the people in the server couldn't even play on it,
Mm.
being
Yeah, it's
level
a tough
locked and
one.
everything. So we ended up deciding to ditch that in favor
Oh,
of making
okay.
it a dedicated event server. And we kind of brought on an event kind of a community manager type guy to help us out with planning fun events here and there. So we're going to be doing more of that type of thing. But I actually we are working on setting up a West Coast server as well. So
Oh,
Nice.
that's
I mean, we
good.
have the one public East Coast server. It's jammed packed all the time. So even VIPs are like, oh shit, I hit the queue. Gotta wait for a
Yeah.
slot to open up. So yeah, I think we're gonna open up a West Coast server. Don't worry, Fresh. I'm not gonna ask you guys to seed it.
I'm just gonna be seeding all day, dude.
Oh yeah, it's all about that seed. So yeah, so we will have technically three, one being kind of a dedicated event server and two of them being public. So
Awesome. That's good to
Good,
hear.
good.
Oh, there's a little one.
and a little one just wandered in.
All right. So tell us how you kind of got started on like Hell Let Loose and kind of what games you like.
Well, I mean, yeah, shooters. I mean, I've been playing kind of shooting games for years since I was a kid. Really, I kind of started with like Battlefield 1942 on PC way back in the day. Joint Operations, if you've ever heard of that game, way ahead of its time, like
Oh,
kind of a Battlefield clone, but better in some ways. It was actually 100 players back in those days.
Oh
Nice.
wow.
Yeah, so really neat game. So kind of from there, I mean, if you go way back, like Atari and everything like that. So all throughout my childhood, and then I got pretty hardcore into like Xbox and things like that. I had a 360 that I camped out in front of Best Buy in -8-degree weather with my buddy to get. But basically, I had kids. I have 4 kids. By the time I had the third, it was like I can't justify paying Xbox Live subscription
Yeah,
anymore.
Yeah,
exactly.
I have to quit, you know. So I basically stepped away for like 4 or 5 years, something like that, and played like nothing and completely. I kind of almost lost interest. Just the games too around that time weren't really my style. They were getting real, you know, jetpacks and all this shit, and it wasn't all these everything has to be unlocked. Everything's like pay to win, or you got to log,
Mhm.
you know, a billion hours to get the good on attachments and shit. And I don't have time for that. So I got away from it. But then, like right before the pandemic, I think I saw like some Postscriptum, some Hell Let Loose type promos, and there was a couple other games at the time. And I've always kind of been like a World War II shooter guy. So they kind of just caught my eye, and then when it kind of got me into like I guess you know more accessible tactical shooters. 'Cause prior to that, I was the most hardcore I played was like Battlefield, so you
Yeah,
know pretty casual. Um,
I'm right there
but
with you.
that's the same with
yeah,
me. I think
Yeah.
it's like as I've gotten older, I can't like be as twitchy as I used to be. And to your point, like the jetpacks, like the
Yeah,
sliding,
dude.
I just like more of a grounded experience, and I like to be able to out tactic my enemy in a sense, but not have to like flick my shots and stuff, you know? So if I
correct.
play strategically enough, I can still beat them. I don't have to just be the best shot or whatever the case is, because I had no way I'm cracked at shooting. Like,
Hell Let Loose gave me a purpose because I can just run around and build garrisons or drop supplies, and I'm helping because I can't shoot shit in that game.
A purpose in life or just in gaming? Or
Oh God,
both.
yeah, maybe definitely during
a
COVID it gave me a
little,
purpose in life. I
a
wonder
little bit
how
of that.
much of the Hell Let Loose player base like came to be because of that period of time.
I think it was just such a good moment for Hella Loose to actually launch because COVID, obviously, like the biggest pandemic or the only pandemic, right, in recent history, where everyone and their mother gets a PC, right? And
Hmm.
then Battlefield and Call of Duty just drop the ball. People are looking for something to play. And it's just like
Yeah,
that game that's just the best mix, in my opinion, of approachable realism. It's that next step towards something like Arma, but not Arma. You know, like Arma's just too much for a lot of people.
Yep, I felt the same way. I mean, it's too much. As hardcore as I like to get is kind of squad postscriptum.
Yeah.
Those are good. Those are good. I like both of those games, but one of them is just kind of a setting type of deal. You know, modern doesn't do it for me as much, and then the other one, it's really I love Postscriptum, but it's a player base issue. It's you know I just there's not enough servers. It's unfortunate. I wish that game you know had a little bit more competition with Hell Let Loose. But I
Yeah.
think you guys are right. Like the timing, you've got these failed you know sort of let down Battlefield games that came out. People were looking for something to play, and it hit right at the right time, and it was good enough that I think it was you know it was a good alternative to some of those games for more casual people. And some of the more hardcore folks were obviously drawn to those types of mechanics. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think it was maybe Alpine Sniper said the same thing. It's kind of the game that made me go, okay, I'm going to build a gaming PC again,
Yep.
yep.
get back into PC gaming. So yeah, that I mean, and I can't even call it a gaming PC. That thing was hilarious.
Oh man.
It was an old office like Dell Optiplex mini computer that I got from like the next door college that I from my work for
Yeah.
like $50, and then I threw like a
Dang.
low profile like GTX 1050 2 GB and ran Hell Let Loose on that with like an i5 2400 processor and
Holy
like
hell.
12 GB of RAM. If you look at some of my older videos, they look like shit.
Yeah.
I get about 15 frames per second, and that's why.
We
It's
were
Funny enough,
You can
the
run Hell
power
Let Loose on some
supply,
potatoes, dude.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
You really
definitely.
can.
not great, but you can. The funny thing is the
That's
power
hilarious.
supply it shit the bed because it was just like the standard
Yeah.
like Dell OEM supply, and I didn't want to just get another shitty like OEM power supply that was underpowered and constantly have that issue. I don't. This is probably not safe. I ordered.
Oh God.
I ordered a regular power supply, like full size, and it just ran it outside the case, sitting on my desk.
Oh my god, that's
Jesus.
amazing.
That's some
I'd be
like
drink. I'd have a drink like right next to it,
oh my
Oh.
lord.
Yeah.
That is some dangerous shit. But yeah, I mean, like it's funny that you mentioned that because I mean my old videos, and I know Fresh mentioned like his old videos, like we were talking about those old videos that you do, you just want to go back and just purge them all.
Oh,
right?
I
You know?
have. I definitely have. Well,
It's
because
like
I don't know about Soul, but my YouTube channel didn't start out as a Hell Loose channel. It started out as like some like garbage videos, dude, like Apex Legends and Call of Duty and stuff. Like
oh my
it was
god.
so bad. And as soon as I started doing Hell Loose, I'm like, okay, I found what this is gonna
Purged.
be. It purged it all.
That's so funny. Did you start
Did
as a
you?
Hell Loose YouTuber, Soul?
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Dang. And look at all his merch. I love the merch.
Oh my god, the
Soulsniper.com.
content.
It's not all about product placement, guys.
It's
Kind of wet the
great.
whistle here.
It's great. But that's awesome, man. So as Hella Loose grows, right? Like what is kind of your long-term strategy with the channel? Like do you plan on continuing to really focus on Hella Loose? You mentioned some other shooters. Like are you planning on kind of expanding? So a couple good examples, right? Burning Lands is coming up, 6 Days in Fallujah. So there's a lot of other games that are coming out the relative couple years. Are you planning on expanding or really just centralizing on Hell Loose and specifically like the tutorials you do?
I mean, I would say overall, I'm planning to expand. You gotta. It's kind of a fine balance for me because I'm really like time constrained as a dad. I work full time.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
I'm a
so we.
dad. I have 4 kids.
Oh yeah, we don't
That's
do that though.
busy. That's
Yeah,
so
that's a
busy.
lot.
Yeah. I mean, I remote connect to my computer on my lunch break to try to edit video, and it's not the greatest
That's
editing
awesome.
experience. So I got some pretty janky setups over here, as you can see. But no, I would like to expand. You mentioned Burning Lands. That's
Yeah.
probably the one that's kind of piqued my interest the most at this point, as far as like if I'm eyeballing a game to kind of hopefully groom into the next, main focus of the channel. Because as much as I would love to cover multiple games, that requires you to play multiple games, and I do a lot of guides, so like I can't be a subject matter expert in like 10 different games
Yeah.
and have all these different tutorials. I just, it already takes weeks to put together these tutorials that I do. So I would love to expand, but the cool thing is, as the channel has grown and I think people have kind of started to kind of recognize who I am in the community, or at least, appreciate some of the videos I've made. I've started getting into just posting more gameplay, and I team up with my little brother Scotty. We don't like stream, but we record our games and then we kind of edit the funny bits and the good bits and we put them on my channel, and those do pretty well too. So, it's been neat to be able to kind of expand into gameplay,
That's good.
which I think has some promise because, I love doing the guides. I love helping new people, and that's kind of, I guess, the channel's bread and butter. But, I don't want to just be the guy that makes guides for noobs, like I have more
Yeah.
to offer than that. And so I'm trying to mix it up.
That's awesome.
People, there's a good amount of people that love watching Hell Loose gameplay out there. Like obviously Raz streams it.
Yeah.
But on YouTube even it's like it's crazy. I didn't think I was gonna just be putting freaking tank gameplay videos up, but people keep coming back and some of them get ridiculous
Yeah.
amounts of views. So you look at like Alpine's channel and it's like all he does
Just
for
gameplay.
infantry
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, just
Like he
gameplay
barely
infantry, so
talks. It's just
yeah.
gameplay straight up. Like when he
Yeah,
talks,
so
it's like a crazy thing. But yeah, I
there's a
think
lot of people out there that want that.
it's
He
good.
talks
Yeah.
when people come up to him and go, Alpine, I
Yeah.
love your videos.
Hey, what's
he's
up?
gonna, he's gonna,
He goes,
I'm pretty
"Thanks, bro."
sure the next video I make is he's gonna be talking a bunch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that'll
That
be
next
funny.
video is gonna be fire. We did a video. I just posted mine today. We did a recon run on LL Main where I was a spotter and Alpine was a sniper, and then Fresh Baked Goods and Wild Bill were the recon tank. And so I would
Ah.
spot stuff, they'd run up behind it and like knock it. I'd spot stuff, run up behind it, knock
It was filthy.
insane. Like they
That's
had
awesome.
a stupid amount of points. Crazy. Like we killed, I mean, what, like 2 Panthers, like 3 Panzer IVs, like
Yeah,
multiple
it was
trucks,
a lot. The
Pumas.
score ended up being like a
Nuts.
normal tank game, but in the recon
Crazy.
tank. So
Crazy.
was good.
Do people
That's
recognize you all the
awesome. Yeah.
time, like walking around in Hella Loose?
I was gonna say not on the street,
Oh,
no,
no, no,
but
no, no, no.
even when I go
That
to
would be
Walmart
fucking
wearing that
wild,
stuff,
dude.
nobody walks up to me and recognizes me, except for my mom. She's a fan.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah. No, I get. I mean, yeah, I get people come up to me, and I think almost, it's a large part because of the channel, but it's also like I'll be playing and people will make the connection, like, wait, I'm, what's the server name? And they're like, oh, are you are you the real Soul Sniper? And I'm like, well, yeah. And they're always
Hey.
I always find it so funny. They're like so confused or like shocked that I'm playing in a server that has my name on. I'm like, well, yeah. Where do you think you're gonna
Yeah,
run into
like,
me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
it's
so
me.
funny. That's
Um,
awesome.
Oh, I love. If you guys see me in game, definitely come say hi. The only time it's annoying is if I'm like looking down my scope and somebody like walks in front of it and just like
Yep.
continues to follow me around. But that's pretty rare. Usually, people just want to just say hi, and it's usually quick, and I love that. So,
That's the best.
um,
Yeah. Those are the most wholesome moments when people come up and like, Soul Sniper, like you helped me get into this game or like you taught me so much, stuff like that. Like that is the
yeah.
most satisfying thing in Hell Loose for
It
me.
makes all the people complaining worth it.
Yeah, I know. This is broken. That's broken. No, so it's
Dude,
awesome.
yeah, the people are so overwhelmingly positive. I mean, I get a very occasional trolling in my YouTube comments,
Yeah.
surprisingly. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's just, I put a lot of time into it. It's free content. Like, what is there to people will be like, well, it's not pronounced Driel, you dumbass. And I'm like, well,
Oh, the amount
Okay.
of times, dude,
Yeah.
I misspelled LL Main. I got so
Oh.
much shit for it.
Raz is infamous. He still doesn't know how to say or spell Remagen.
No,
To
not
this
I
day.
don't
still
either.
To this
I
day,
don't
he
know. I
doesn't.
think
ever.
I called it Ray Moggin at first. I don't know. I think I
Yeah.
listened to like Terry Dactyl say it, and he's got an accent, and I was like, oh,
I was like, that sounds right.
he
And I
sounds,
think Terry said it wrong
sounds
too.
cultured.
I'm at the
Yeah.
point now where I go to Google and like I make it like the Google like say it. Like there's a button like say it,
Yeah.
fucking say it. Tell me how to say these things before I actually like make the video on it.
Yeah,
Oh, we get
exactly.
Chat GPT to tell us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, literally. That's so funny though. What do you think about the community of Hella Loose? I mean, you mentioned like you've had a lot of positive comments and stuff. Like for me personally, I think Hella Loose has been one of the most positive communities. Yeah, there's a lot of people, that are opinionated, but I think most of the time, in my experience, it's all just kind of constructive criticism. Not no one's like F this game. I mean, more
Yeah.
recently, I will say, as it's gotten bigger, yeah, I've seen some of that. But what are your
Well,
thoughts?
there's negativity towards the game here and there. Typically, when an update releases, and I'm sure we're going to get into all that with update 14. But I mean, yeah, I think this is one of the best. I know this is one of the best online communities,
Yeah,
that I've ever experienced. And I kind of got into a little bit of my kind of gaming background, and if I'm coming from Battlefield on Xbox 360, I mean, times have evolved since then, right?
definitely.
People are a lot more PC these days, I guess you would say, and I think it's for the best. And also just a game like Hell Let Loose that caters a little bit more towards a slightly older demographic than your typical like 16-year-old type gamer.
Yeah.
I think it just makes for a little bit less toxic community, and it's like a little cult, like we all like, and
Yeah.
the game itself's got so much like charm just in the Erica song, and just little quirks of the game that we all know, and like even the bugs that we
The
all know and
heads
love,
that
and
are like
the memes.
decapitated and still blink at you. The
Yeah,
creepiest
the big,
things.
yeah, they still look at you even when you're an admin
I
cam.
know.
Yeah.
The big old
So
dick
weird.
beaters the guys
Yeah.
got, it's
The
just the
giant
game is.
hands.
Yeah, and I think the community kind of rallies around that, and so I love it, and that's one of the big reasons why I play it so much, and why my whole channel is, even though I started it thinking just tactical shooters in general, the time constraints and the fact that I just fell in love with the game, and
Yeah,
I don't, it's what I want to play when I have time, so that's what I do. So yeah, I love
absolutely.
the community.
Yeah, I will say like every person that I now play video games with, everybody is people I've met through Hell Let Loose. Like
Mhm.
it's crazy to see. Even other games, like when we go occasionally play other things, it's people I've met through Hell Let Loose. They're now like my gamer friends, which is
Yeah.
awesome. Like look at Raz and I, we met in Hell Let Loose, and here we
Mhm.
are doing so much shit together.
Yeah.
And I will say the one crazy thing about the community is like for going on 3 years now, like you're still seeing the same names. Like even though you're not playing with them, you'll see the same names like on the other team and stuff, and on different servers. Like it's crazy how tight knit the community is and how strong it is.
Yeah. And like even on
For
console,
sure.
you see that too. Which like I've gone on console. I don't play console a lot, but I've gone on console. There's like the same people, like very consistently. It's crazy how
Yeah.
tight knit the community is. Um,
Yeah, I really wish there was more tools for the console bros. I feel for them
I
at times.
know.
Um, it feels like it's not quite the full experience, and I feel for that. I do, I know that there's developments coming, and console players have a lot to look forward to, but um, there's definitely some ground to cover. I think, there's, I guess, parity in terms of content, but in terms of features,
Yeah.
it does lack a few things, and so I'm really hoping for those guys because I'd like to see the game thrive on those systems as well, and um, yeah, they have a little bit tougher go in some ways.
It's got a huge community around it though. Like surprisingly, even with all the bugs, like every vehicle lags on console, which is just unbearable. But
I
like
wish I wish we could know the numbers for amount of
But
console players. I'm
yeah,
curious.
Reddit told me that vehicles are completely useless now because people can run faster
they
than
are
them.
so fast. Like so I guess that transitions good into U14. So
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. We should start talking.
So U14 guys, and I know TikTok you're asking about how do we feel about the new update. So let's go ahead and have a conversation. This is about U14. So I have a handful of hours. Fresh, I know you have a handful of hours, and I think Soul, you have a handful of hours too in U14. So I think we have a good
Yep.
grasp. So what is like your initial thoughts of update 14?
You can go first.
So, so first of all, I'll just preface this by saying, Scotty and I logged several games as recon. So all I've really touched so
Gotcha.
far is the sniper rifle, the revolver, whatever's in that kit. I have last night we played a couple in a full squad, and what did I? I think I used the Lee end or the P14
Yeah.
a
Pattern,
little
right?
bit. What's that?
The pattern, I think, right?
The pattern 14,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
The standard rifle or whatever I use. I think I was playing support. So a couple other things as well, but I haven't really gotten my hands on like the Bren or the shoot, what's the
The
MG?
Sten. Or,
The
no,
Lewis.
sorry, the Lewis. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Lewis gun. The Lewis
Yeah.
gun. That thing's huge, by the way.
Massive.
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 I laughed when I saw it in the like the character menu, the guy like
Dude,
holding it. I was like, holy shit.
insane. Yeah, like when I first looked at it, like we did the launch stream. Within the first like couple minutes, I was like looking at the menu. I was like, Jesus, and all chat's like, what the heck is this? This thing's massive.
That thing is huge.
Huge.
But giggity. But yeah, it. Overall, my impressions are positive. So I don't. I try not to judge things too harshly because typically there's a big update. I know that they're trying to hit deadlines. I know that there is this big kind of takeover of the IP and everything. So I do give them kind of the benefit of the doubt. I'm waiting for patches and things like that. And I think largely what a lot of the issues we are seeing are easily correctable. Running speed has been the controversial one. Somebody asked in chat, but I'm actually a fan of the new running speed, and I'd be curious to hear what you guys think as well. But I just feel like it was a pretty common complaint prior that the character seems to move slow, and I think it's maybe the best solution wasn't just a straight across the board increase in speed, but more of a stamina system. But you start to toe that line between like the accessible tactical shooter, and all of a sudden everybody's bitching because they don't want to take a sip of their canteen, or they don't want to, their weapons swaying all over the place. They can't hit shit because they don't want to manage their stamina. So some people are going to be for that and some against it. But I think when it comes to the running speed, I still feel it's a realistic speed. I just feel like it's a little screwed up in relation to the speed of the vehicles in the game and the tanks and things like that. So I think I don't know. Was it you Fresh that suggested just increasing the vehicle speed as a
Yeah.
potential solution?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of many.
I was
It's
saying
got to
just
be
scale
simple
it
enough to
like
do
proportionally.
proportionally. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you're increasing it 15%, I say increase the vehicles 15% as a scale. Not like you're making them 10 times faster, but just make it the same
Right.
as it was because it's just
Yeah.
quite literally you can Naruto run after a freaking tank and just jump on top of it easily at full speed. The Firefly does not move at
And
all.
in the terms of vehicles, 15% isn't that much. It's just like a couple more kilometers per hour. Like then you're
Right.
there.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I tried to do a little bit of like, bro math, bro science in the
I
war
saw that.
correspondence channel.
Yeah.
I
Husko's
was
doing that too.
I
yeah,
saw
well, I
you
couldn't
guys
figure
doing
out
that, and
like
my brain went just like gray. I just
well,
like zoned out.
I know. Well, it's like, if everybody's gonna get riled up and debate about like whether or not
It's
this increase
realistic or not.
matters, or
Yeah.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
well, there's two things. You can calculate it to see if it's like within the realm of human, possibility, or even your average soldier geared up and everything back in World War II,
Yeah.
however deep you want to go with it. But there's like the historical, some people that's the issue, and other people it's just the gameplay. Like it's turning into, Call of Duty. Well, I don't necessarily agree with that, but I understand the concern that that type of change may make people think that the game is heading that direction. So it's been a little bit all over the board, but in my mind, I think it feels right in terms of how fast I think my character should be able to move, particularly when under fire, right? So that's always been kind of the like I'm taking shots from an MG42 and I'm like lazily running to the nearest rock, and now, coupled with the sort of the dolphin dive, you can get your dick in the dirt quick and get away from that MG fire.
Yeah, dude.
And I'm a fan of that. I
Yeah,
just
for
the
real.
overall locomotion feels more, um, I guess, how I would imagine it would be in real life, as a sweaty nerd who's never been in the shit.
I think for me, it's like the locomotion overall feels like a modern game. Where prior, Bad Company 2, for example, is one of my favorite games of all time. But if you go back and play that in 2023, it feels like a 2020, like 2012 game. Like you get stuck on a lot of stuff. There's no vaulting. If in like even Battlefield 3, like there is vaulting, but the vaulting is kind of clunky. Whereas you play Battlefield 5, I would say Battlefield 5 has the pinnacle of locomotion as well, aside from the sliding, I don't like the sliding, but yeah, you have diving, you can get on your back, you can jump up and like grab onto ledges and then pull yourself up. Like there's, you never get stuck on anything. You can kind of move back and forth, but it's all seamless. And that's what I feel like Hell Loose is kind of moving towards in general. I don't make it any like crazy Call of Duty. I would agree, but I think that moving it 15% is okay as one of, and I'm sure you guys can both agree, one of, if not the most common comment I get like on my social media when I post a Hell Loose video where I'm infantry at all. Man, that running's so slow. Man, that guy's like running like barely running or whatever the case is. And the real running speed is still like within reason. Like the actual speed is full within reason. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's like I'm sure we've all played this long enough now to where you remember back when it was faster. Like this is almost I mean, is this the original running speed before they slowed it down? I can't even remember. So I remember it was tanks were fast, infantry was fast. Then they slowed tanks down, I believe, and then infantry was too fast. Then they slowed infantry down, and now they sped infantry back up, but tanks are now slow again. So it's been a roller coaster, like over the past like 7 or 8 updates for movement here, and
Yeah,
they just need to pick something and stick with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think at the end of the day, like if they're gonna make a design choice to not pursue a stamina system, which I'm okay with that. Personally, I think that it needs to strike a balance between still being slow enough or realistic enough that it kind of retains the non ultra casual Battlefield COD
Yeah.
feeling, but still provides, like you said, like that seamless locomotion that makes it not a chore to play. Because I mean, there were iterations of the game where, yeah, like you said, like the mantling for newer players, like it's not the best now, but you you have no idea. Like it used
How
to
far it's
be
come. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
terrible.
There was no
Uh,
mantling at one point.
yeah, just go around. I
Yeah.
think I started playing at like just at the end of Update 6, and then Update 7 dropped with like the new audio and the new
Yeah.
running animations and stuff, which um that was a pretty decent update. But yeah, that's kind of when I got into it. So I don't, like the real early, like prior to that, I don't know. But I mean, it's come a long ways in terms of movement, I would say, and I still feel it's within a scale of realism that is reasonable and not like the dive is not ultra, like you don't slide 15 meters.
Yeah.
Um, actually do think that the dive could use a little bit of a more jarring, like when you hit the ground, like it's so smooth, right?
Yeah.
I think it could use a little bit more, maybe camera jolt, just nothing terrible, but just or a slight delay before you can get your weapon up. Because, but again, it's how realistic you want it to be versus how
I I find my
gaming.
character like I'll be like trying to dive like towards cover or towards supplies or something, and my dude just headbutts everything. Like I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
flying into things.
yeah. Scotty he found some nodes, and I was running next to him, and he just fucking dove into him head
Yeah.
first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
I
then
saw.
I ran up to the top of a glider wing, and I'm used to
I
just
saw
right. You get to
this.
the
I
top
saw this
and you just
video.
lay down. Well, I just whoop
And
flew
just
right
dove
off
off.
the edge.
Dove off. Yeah,
Yep,
because you don't
right
drop,
into the
go
water.
straight down. You like
There's
dive
like a little
forward every
boost.
time.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
definitely a little boost there. But
Yeah,
exactly.
I think I'm on the same page as you guys. I don't know. Personally, I don't really want a stamina bar or anything. I just think they need to find the right balance. Then we're going to be good to go. Because I have like PTSD from postscriptum in the canteen. Like
I
that
never
is
want
just
that. Yeah,
such a game ruiner for me. And
I
I
I
think
don't
mean
even
it.
want anything close to that. To where
Yeah,
it's like you have to like stop. Like I hate when you have to when things make you stop. Like when they're like, don't
right,
play right now. Wait.
I think the thing
right.
So I want
is
less of that.
with Hell Loose that people lose sight of is they're like, oh, it's not realistic. It's not realistic. Hell Loose is a approachable, realistic game. It's not a realism. It's not a mill sim. It's not an arcade. It's approachable realism. So it is somewhat based on realistic scenarios or realistic situations or realistic concepts, but it's made to be fun. That's
Yeah.
what Hell Loose is at its core. That's why the armor system is not made to have very dynamic armor. It's made to have a very simplistic, a good bridge again between Battlefield or Call of Duty to like something like Arma or Squad. And I think
Well,
that
and you
yeah,
still get 15 blueberries who can't figure out how to kill the thing. So I mean,
correct.
how much
Yeah.
more of the sweet spots on the tanks that you have to hit just right? It's like, I mean, people can't even figure. I mean, maybe Fresh has a different take on this, but
No,
I've seen with my own eyes in our server. It even says anti-tank players hit the tanks in the ass
We
because it's
we had
like,
to put that on ours too.
yeah,
some
I think I stole it from yours.
Yeah.
some guy just started cussing me out one time because he kept shooting the front. He's like, "We shot this thing. We respawned. We shot this thing 8 times, and it's still not dead." And I was like, "Did you shoot it in the ass? It takes 2 shots to kill in the ass. It's like Panzer
Yeah,
IV. Like we did. We shot in the ass." And I like look at it. It's got 1 shot in the ass and like 8 shots in the tracks. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"No,
right.
you didn't." And he's like, "F you, blah blah blah." And I was like, "All right, whatever." It just starts mowing me down. It's like, dude, just it's so simple. It's a very simplistic system for a reason.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And the
Um,
progression of the damage only applies to certain areas. So yeah, there is a progression where if you hit it once, it's damaged. If you hit it twice, it might explode or it might be more damage. But if you hit it in a spot that doesn't,
yeah.
like you can hit it in the front 10 times and it's still 100, it doesn't take from the I think people think they can chip away at the armor by
That's
hitting it in
Correct.
the
crazy.
front.
Yeah.
If I shoot it 5
Like
times in the front,
Battlefield.
that's as good as 2 in the ass, but it's
Yeah.
not how it
It's
works.
people put so much work into it. It's like, God
So
damn it. It takes
much.
like literally every tank can be killed from 1 to 3 things. Take your
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Right.
as far as the movement speed goes, I think we're all pretty much in consensus that we like it. But I think we feel that the movement speed of the vehicles needs to be mirrored or scaled with the
Yeah.
movement speed of infantry. I think you have to have that balance because you shouldn't have like heavy tanks be able to just get caught up by infantry at full speed. Yes, they should be punished, by infantry if they stop or whatever the case is. But if you're in full retreat mode or full running mode, like you shouldn't be able to just Naruto next to it. I'm telling you, like
Yeah,
I'm gonna have
it's weird is
flashbacks.
what it is. It's
Like
weird is what it is.
Husk is just running
Yeah.
up into our tank the other day, and we're like putting along at fourth gear, and he's like, "Hey guys, I caught up," and we're like, "We left you like 5 minutes ago." He's like, "Hey, I'm here." Jumps on our tank. I'm like, "What are you doing?" So yeah, I just think that's the worst part. Just it has to be
Yeah.
scaled. It has to be
Yeah.
have some sort of counter, and
I
at the
do
moment, it doesn't.
I do enjoy
Agreed.
how smooth the vaulting is. I agree with that. And then I haven't had too much chance to test it, but I've noticed the step. I knew this was going to be such a good fix that not a lot of people are going to talk about. Like adjusting the step height while running around has been huge. I think
Yes, yes,
like it's one of those little things that's going to go under the radar. But my God, like I am not getting stuck on anything as far as I can tell
agreed.
now. So
And
it's
Yeah.
that's been really really cool to see.
furthermore, with that, I think a long time ago, and this is something I mentioned in my video, is Black Matter mentioned the way they're going to go ahead and fix. Oh, and by the way, a lot of people said they like the movement speed as well in chat. Um, One of the things they're working on is instead of changing like the way vehicles work necessarily and getting stuck and infantry getting stuck, they're changing the maps. I'm not sure how much you've driven anything in Drill, for example, but Drill has a lot of ditches and trenches. I can tell you without a reasonable doubt, I have not gotten stuck in one ditch
Yeah,
at all.
correct. Me
The,
neither.
the ditches are not as jagged as like the legacy maps. They're very rounded and they're not as deep, or they are as deep. They're just more rounded off the sides and the cusp of them. And
I
so the
haven't gotten
tanks,
anything stuck yet on either map, by the
no.
way. Nothing.
So they're doing a
Nice.
really good job with the map design itself and like the trenches and the sides. So I think that the locomotion aided by the change of the maps has been really really good.
I guess we should just talk about the maps, huh?
Yeah. Soul, thoughts on the maps?
I'm pretty happy with the maps. So I guess okay, El Alamein, we'll start there. It's so visually different. It's
Yeah.
so like um, topographically different, I guess you would say.
Mhm.
It's a completely different environment, and there's just giant, beautiful, magnificent sand castles everywhere. And they make okay. So I'm obviously primarily a recon guy. I play sniper. Scotty spots for me. We've had, I mean, I've had some games with that nasty British rifle. Um, it took me a bit to get used to. So I've historically, I should say, been kind of ass with the Car 98. Like it's too much
Yeah,
zoom. I don't
it
like the 8x
is
on most of the maps,
way
right?
too much.
Certain maps it's okay. Like Purple Heart Lane, I can get with that. But like this one's so open and so kind of I hate to say campy, but it kind of is, and it's really hard to like. There's so many times where Scotty and I will see like, oh, there's a garrison on my ping, right? I can see it through my scope, but it's 400 meters away, and we got to cross open desert or find a long ass flank around these rock cliffs to get to it. It's harder to like push in and actually dismantle a garrison or take a point, depending on the point. Um, so it's just it plays a little differently. And for me, like as a sniper, it's kind of sniper's paradise. Like the amount of guys you just see little heads popping up, and it's truly a game of like I've started. I don't usually have to like ping to get to gauge distance because it's generally within kind of the range of my rifle, and I just kind of know and feel it. But I've gotten into just okay, that guy's way the hell out there. Ping, okay, he's 425 meters away, and it's like I'll take a shot and then I'll adjust, and like half the time they don't even move because they don't, it's like they don't know where they're getting shot from, and so from a sniper perspective, and I'd be curious to hear from a tanker's perspective how this map sits with you. But I also understand like from Scotty's perspective, he's kind of been like, God, it kind of sucks though running around with like a fucking Bren with a giant triangular front, post that it's tough. Like unless you're flanking around those little ravines and canyons and stuff, like yeah, I think it's going to take some interesting tactics and smoke and armor support. 'Cause I feel like I've hardly played one like proper because everybody's just running
Yeah.
around checking out the game, and I do think it's gonna evolve a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those maps where nobody's figured it out yet. Like, we're still figuring out too, even after so many rounds, like the routes and the ways to go. Because I
Yeah,
have noticed, like, we've watched a couple games from admin cam, and it's been like, it's so interesting that there's so much open space and there's like little spots, open space surrounding all these little spots. And it's everything gets so grouped up in these little spots and everything. And that's where all the
right.
action is. So it's the only map where I've really seen that. So I'm curious to
One,
see how it's going to work. But
yeah, it's interesting. Like the concept you said, like grouped up. That's a
yeah.
good way to put it. Like it feels like when you see someone, it's a spawn wave, like every
Yes.
time. Whereas
Yes.
like a lot of
Yeah.
the other maps, it's like there's a guy, pick him off.
Yeah.
There's a guy over there, pick him
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
With this, it's just like there's so many like, oh holy shit.
There's
Like
little
over
battles
on
just
that rock
everywhere.
cliff,
Yeah.
a whole team just
Yeah.
spawned over here,
Yeah.
and you're just sitting there going, think, think, and you can't reload your damn rifle fast enough, and it's like, come on, before they scatter, and then it's fun. It's a
Yeah.
different feel, and then
So
it's visually really cool, and
I agree.
I like
I
the
think
colors. I like almost that pinkish yellow
See,
hue that they have to it.
I don't
I
know if I
wish there
like the
were I wish there
pink.
was one that was I wish they had an offensive one that was like really blue and like
Have you seen the
white
offensive
yellow.
yet?
No, I haven't even tried offensive
I
on it
haven't
yet.
seen
But
offensive
before
yet.
we get off
So
track, I just
Oh,
I just
sorry.
want to say like this is probably one of the few maps where it's like it's not just controlling the four squares of the point. It's like if you're not controlling the whole map, you're gonna lose. I think this is really one of the only maps to really like say like you have to watch everything, otherwise your team's gonna lose.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are
Mhm.
struggling with that because they barely understand map control as it is. So when you tell them, hey, you have to do more of it, they're gonna have a bad time. So when you see a lot of people complaining about like, oh, just running out and dying and just like it's not going well and stuff, it's because
Yeah.
this takes a lot more teamwork and communication than a normal map does in Hell Let Loose.
Yeah, I think it plays so different, and I know it seems like this is a little more decisive, kind of back and forth with the decision on whether people like it or not, as compared to Drill. But to your point, Fresh, this is the first map that I've seen that people very much stick together in a squad. Like I've had the
Hmm.
most squad play in this map than I've had in any other one. Soul exactly mentioned. Like I look and there's an entire like squad spawn or an entire wave of folks just dashing from cover to cover. And then the town, like the valley, probably honestly one of my favorite places to fight. As I remember the first time I loaded into LL Main, like it's my squad and then an enemy squad at the far side. I can see them, a whole, 5, 6 person squad running into the city. My squad runs into the city, and then we're just like shooting back and forth, like in the city. And it's just two squads battling like back and forth and slowly moving in on each other. Armor pulling up, getting it set up, posting up, providing support, providing like HEs all across. So I really, really enjoy it. I think it just plays so much different. Some of the angles are really cool. And then the camos for the vehicles are amazing and were not expected at all. I was expecting
Yeah.
a standard color for all of them, just like every other map. But to
But
have that
no one's talking
Firefly,
about that either. No one's talking about
no,
the map specific camo. And I'm like, that's fucking
that
so cool.
Firefly looks so
Yeah.
nice in
Yeah.
the like the tan color scheme. So I
Right.
really, really think it plays differently. But you really need to have a lot of map control. You can't be slacking on your garrisons. Like you
Yeah,
have to have
you
garrisons.
have to have 8 garrisons spread out at all times,
Yep.
otherwise you're gonna lose. So it's a lot to ask the current player base this.
It
Yeah,
is.
Um,
Yeah.
so I think as
It is.
people learn as time goes on, I think that map's gonna get better.
I
Um,
agree.
so we'll see.
Yeah.
Um,
I really enjoy it, and yeah, there's definitely like that rotational, like there's this
yes.
constant living, breathing feel to it where yeah, you're on this rock cliff, and all of a sudden there's a tank. Like
Mhm.
there's a recon tank back there, and then there's like a sniper out here and an
Yeah.
MG guy out here. And then so you're constantly like adjusting to like, and then you have those crazy moments of like all of a sudden they're right on top of you on the
Yeah.
other side of this little rock cliff, and the shape of some of that terrain where it's like, well, if I crouch I can kind of see under this like cantilevering part of the rock, and I'm gonna like lay down and shoot this guy in the kneecaps,
Uh-huh.
or just the melee. I love the British, like it's such a polite shank, like
Oh yeah.
but it's just like, oh hey,
You can feel the
hey
I'm
little
sorry
boy.
coming
It's like a
out.
dagger, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the little dagger, and then
Hmm.
it is quick though. I do like how
Yeah.
quick it is. It's not like this labored.
The shovel. Oh yeah, shovel's the worst
Yeah,
melee for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, I
And then
think
like holding the scope, you know.
oh,
Yeah,
Ugh.
and I will say this is
indubitably.
probably the only
Indubitably.
map that well, I'm not the only map. This is probably the map that has the most. I don't want to say the most unrealistic, but this is the map that strayed far from satellite imagery and making it like as realistic as possible. This is the most video
Yes.
gaming map that's been
Yes.
designed for Hell Let Loose, and I think that's why it's going to play so well once people figure it out. Is that this map was designed for Hell Let Loose gameplay,
Correct.
so it's going to be fun once people
That's a
really start learning it.
that's a good point, an interesting point. Yeah, it's and I'm not like, obviously I don't study topographical maps from the
Yeah.
period, you know. But
Well, if Grits is in chat at all, he should pop in and say what up. But
there you go.
I don't think he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with taking some liberties for the sake of gameplay, and that's always been somewhat their stance. I think they've always started with something pretty damn close, and then they've said, okay, well, kind of like how they shifted, Saint Marie Dumont. They added additional cover in Foy, just map assets and things like that. I have to say the mapping team, and I guess. Well, it'll be interesting to see how things go moving forward. Because did Black Matter build these maps in Team
Yes.
17?
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say
so
this is Team 17. I don't think hardly did anything for this update.
Right.
So I think they changed some of the assets, but Black Matter built these two maps for sure. I think they were
Yeah.
both built by Thiel.
I mean, I'm sure we'll
map
get
dev.
to tanks in a little bit here, but I'm pretty sure everything was done by Black Matter.
Well, and I wanted to mention it specifically because I know there's going to be people going, well, Team 17 took.
Yeah.
First thing they do is they build maps that aren't even based on. Well, no, we're still dealing with Black Matter here.
Yeah.
It takes 12 months at least to build a map.
Yeah.
At least.
I would really like to see everybody, including content creators, give them the benefit of a doubt. I know it's tempting to do the clickbaity titles and try to feed on the negative,
Halus is dying. Dead game.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Jeremy, stop with that shit.
was ruined and all that.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I refuse to do those.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir.
I'll give criticism.
Yeah, of
I
course.
I don't like doing that, but yeah, I mean, credit where it's due. Make sure you guys are given that, and also criticism, and just make sure it's constructive. That's my main thing.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Chat.
So let's move on to Driel, yeah.
Yeah,
Or
chat
Driel.
real quick. Let me know in chat here. I put a poll in chat as well for you guys. Let me know what you guys think about LL Main. At the top of the chat, you can go ahead and put yes or no if you like it. So let me know. We got 63% saying LL Main. So while they're voting for that, yeah, Driel. What are your first thoughts of Driel, Soul?
I had two kind of very different experiences on Driel. So
You played Recon, right?
yeah,
On
well,
these-
yeah. So the first games I played Recon, and it's pretty cool. I like that the bridge is a prominent terrain feature, but it's not like Remagen. How the hell do you say that?
Remagen, I thought, right?
Somebody said
Remagen,
in chat,
I
I
think.
missed it.
I don't know.
Okay, because somebody had said, "Oh,
The
it's
R
another
word.
bridge." The R word. It's another bridge death map, and I'm like, there's at no point in playing that map are you forced to cross that bridge at all. Like, I get that
crossed it,
waiting
once.
slows you down. Right? Yeah. Same here. It was like all the games I've played on it, there really hasn't been that much fighting breaking out on the bridge. At least compared to the R word, the R map. I mean, it's quite minimal, and when it is, I like how the bridge extends more onto the land itself with the tracks and everything. So it's just a more interesting bridge in that respect. There's no under railing system or whatever.
Right.
But you do then get the pillars and posts that you can kind of fight over the concrete footings of it or whatever, which is kind of cool. But so for sniping, it was cool, another sniper paradise type map. Essentially, a lot of it is pretty nice for a sniper. I had a good time playing it with Recon last night. We ran a full squad, and a lot of times if I'm not Recon, I'll run MG. There's a frustratingly low amount of things to mount your MG on in that map.
That's what I've
You
heard.
can't even mount it on the bridge, apparently.
Oh, yeah, the sides of the bridge you can't mount it there. So I'm like, well, okay, I'm gonna go prone where the step opening is, where the stairs go down. But it's like a separate, the bridge is, I think it's wood and railroad tracks and on the actual top surface of it. But the stairs are steel, but you can't mount it on the steel part. So even there, it's I can't. I'm on the bridge as an MG, and I found myself I literally had to just walk across, hip
Just
firing.
shoulder it. Jeez.
And we got 30 minutes into the match. I had 4 kills, and every one of them was hip fire. And I gave up MG because I'm and once you're off the bridge, it's there's little berms and stuff like that, and it's they're covered in grass, so you really can't you can mount prone, but it's you can't see shit, so
Yeah.
so it was frustrating for the MG, I found. But Yeah, I think, just running around like as a rifleman or a support or something like that, where you've got a rifle, it probably pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like
And
I
it's
haven't had
beautiful.
too many.
Yeah.
I feel like okay, so the map for me, I thought was gonna play like obviously going into, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be another Remagen, like it's a bridge match coming in. But honestly, it plays like a better Purple Heart Lane in my mind with the landscape, like
It gives me
no,
that vibe too.
yeah,
That was
no
one of
choke
the
points.
first things I said to Scotty. I'm like, this is like kind of around the bridge and such, where it's like
Hmm.
little trenches and ditches. It's like, yeah, this has got definitely PHL vibes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it still very much feels different because it's like this whole, all these new assets. They got some really fucking weird trees
yeah, yeah.
that look
What?
like they've been.
The
What they call
weeping
weeping
willows.
willows. Yeah,
What
we
do they
learned
look
what those
like?
trees were called when we were playing the other day. Someone
I don't
told
think
us
I
in
don't think they
chat.
are called
Those
weeping
aren't,
willows.
those
I think
aren't willows.
the weeping willows are from Harry Potter, because I was like,
Oh,
those are the
that's
Harry
not a real
Potter.
tree? I don't know.
No, I was
I
like,
don't
those are
know
like the
Harry
Harry
Potter
Potter
either.
trees, but they're the ones right
Okay,
on the
You
corner of the
you
berm.
convinced me that was a fucking tree.
No, yeah, I just made it up, but they look so weird. They are
those are
so.
weird. And
Oh, the Whomping Willow is what it is. So
Okay,
it's
everybody's
oh,
saying weeping willows
Weeping
are a
willows
real
are real.
tree.
Okay, I'm an idiot then. But
I'm
it
so
is not a
confused
weeping
now.
willow.
we had a willow tree at our old house, and it's the typical, like, looks like an '80s hairband. Like
Yes.
that to me. That's a willow. These
I
are
don't know
like,
what those are. They're so weird.
yeah, you know
But
what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because Fresh and I were playing the other day with Bruv, and he
Yeah.
ran into one of them, and he's like, "Oh shit, these little trees! They're just like right at the corner, and you can't get past them. They're
Yeah,
such a
this
pain."
It's
weird
it's very
alien-looking thing.
swampy on that map. It feels
Yeah,
like you're playing like in the bayou or something.
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know. For me, like, I will say, as a tank map, I love Drill a lot
It's
more than
fun.
I thought it would. And I
Yeah.
think that it actually feels and plays a lot like Postscriptum.
Mhm.
Postscriptum has a lot of those maps with very high shrubs and a lot of flanking routes. Me, like, my favorite type of gameplay is to be able to maneuver a lot and not just sit there in one spot and shoot. So we were able to go ahead and rotate really quickly. Like, there was even one example where we were engaging a firefly. We got hit, dipped into a burn, repaired, pulled up the burn about, like, 200 meters, pulled back up on a flank, shot him again, pulled over. Like, it was super fun. And then for infantry, I think it's really, well, I think it's funny, first off, that you're fighting for a bridge that you can also just walk across. Like, the logic for me, obviously, it's nonsense. But I really enjoy it. Like, I love how you can go
Yeah.
over. It is a strategic place as the bridge, but it's not a necessary place. You can easily go around it, and you can easily counter it.
It's not strategic if you have an MG42.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Armor,
No,
getting up there, infantry. If you have like some infantry support, you could just run the map from up there.
For
Absolutely.
sure, for sure. Snipers. I mean, yeah, it's
Hmm.
and it's funny you mentioned the Postscriptum vibes, because they have multiple bridge maps, and it does have a similar, because Remagen, like I said, it's like land to land. It's
Yeah.
way above water. It's just a
Mhm.
long. This one has obviously, because isn't Drill is in Postscriptum, isn't it? Or is it a
No,
different
Arnhem is in
But it's very
Postscriptum.
Okay, Arnhem.
Yeah, it's
very
the
So,
bridge next to Arnhem, I think, is what Driel is. It's like
well,
to the
that's a bridge too far.
west. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I mean, the purple flower fields are beautiful. The yellow flower fields are beautiful. The trench lines are pretty cool. Um, I don't know. I overall like it.
I mean, it plays identically to that Battlefield 5 map in my mind, the
Uh,
Twisted Seal or whatever.
You
And
think it
just like,
plays like that?
I
yeah, it
I
feels
keep
like
hearing
it.
that. Yeah, I never played Battlefield 5 because
Well, Battlefield 5
Especially,
is good.
especially the points like that aren't on the bridge, like especially on the German side of the map, so like the east and west of it. It feels exactly like that map.
Yeah. But I really enjoy it. I think from the surveys I saw, about 30% wanted to were more excited for Driel, and 70% were more excited for LL Main. And I think now it's almost like a 50-50. Like, a lot of people like the look of LL Main, but they like the play of Driel. I'm curious, chat, what do you guys think? Which one do you like better? Let me know. I'll put another
I
survey
think it's
here.
probably accurate now.
yeah, that'd be interesting. I think it'd be interesting to my buddy Blueborn, who's one of my admins, and he's in the chat, or he was in the chat. He put together like a map survey, and we kind of pushed it out on Reddit a while back, but it was kind of I think it might have been pre-Remagen. So it's not completely up to date, but it was actually pretty surprising.
He's there. He
The
said.
results, because like some of the maps, people are super vocal about. I fucking hate Hill 400, right?
Yeah.
But like
Same. Worst map, in my opinion.
It fell squarely like right in the middle, and I love the woods maps. So I was, I
You're a
feel like you either
masochist.
love them or they're really polarizing. Whereas like
I've
there's other maps where they're, and I don't want to say universally, but like most your
Right.
average player is gonna list like Purple Heart Lane and Kursk as like, unless they're like hardcore
least
tankers
favorite,
maybe or
yeah.
something. But it was funny because the Hill 400 I thought was gonna get shit on, and there it was like square in the middle where it was like ranked
Yeah.
above some other pretty popular maps, and I was like, damn. And so I'd be interested to see like with the two new British maps, like
yeah.
not even against each other, but like where in the full rotation do they
Oh, yeah.
fit? And it's probably too early to do that, but man,
What do you
for
think is your
me,
favorite map in the game right now?
in the whole game? I mean, because I don't have enough time on the British maps to confidently, I can't go ahead and the recency bias, right? But I probably Carentan or
Yeah.
maybe Saint Miraglis.
Yeah.
I really like that map.
That's probably universal.
Yeah. I'd
Yeah.
say
Those two are always
Carentan is
top.
like the number one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I like Kharkov Foy a lot.
It
Kursk
kind of
Knight,
evolved.
very, very slept on map, in my
Very
opinion.
different.
Kursk Knight is way better than Kursk Day, I think. A lot more so for infantry, but armor can be pretty fun at times too.
I'll be honest, they're probably you asked me this question a year ago. There was always like maps. I'm like, I don't want to fucking play that map, blah, blah, blah. Now there's not one single map that I'm like not excited to play just because so
Hill
many of them play
400.
so differently. Oh, I'll
Def-
tank on Hill
I
400.
will hate
Hill
Hill
There it is.
400 every
Don't tell me
time.
it was a good
There-
time. I
there it
love
is.
taking
I
on
hate
Hill
that map.
400.
Worst
Well,
map to
and
get.
I think what happens is that recency bias, and like, and Blueborn just put that survey in the chat for anybody that's interested. Take a look. It's pretty cool. Maybe we'll do a new one once people have time to check out these maps. But I always thought like, you kind of have like you wake up one day and it's like, this is how I rank them. This is how I feel. I fuck Kursk, right?
Yeah.
Like
People really seem to hate Kursk.
Yeah, well, I was one of them, but like what happens is like then all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, it's Kursk. All right, I'll play it. And you have a really good game. All of a sudden you see the potential of like, okay, it's possible to have a freaking awesome time on this map. So is it the map, or is it just the way the points that you get, the way the game plays out, the team
Yeah.
that you have? Like maybe there wasn't, maybe we're too quick to blame the map. Like Purple Heart Lane sucks. Well, yeah, when you don't have any garrisons and you're running stuck trying to cross open fields, and the other team's got AT guns and tanks and MGs set up, it's rough. But there's other times where it's like, it can be amazing where you get these coordinated pushes where you got fucking arty smoke coming down and people are, get these waves. It can be super cinematic and a completely different feel the next time you play it. And I think that's what happens because I was on like, I hate Kursk. Right now, the one that I can't stand, to the point where I want to take it out of our map rotation for like a month, is Saint Marie Dumont.
Oh, you're about to tickle Raz's fucking fancy saying that.
Well,
Good.
okay, but part of
Good.
it is I acknowledge that part of it is because it's so freaking, it's the map that everybody, like, you seed on it. It's always there, like at night when the other maps drop out, that one's left. I play it so much, and it's kind of got that same issue that Drill has for me when I play Machine Gunner, where it's like I can't really set up an MG effectively on a berm. I can't really like lay down in the grass because then I can't see shit, and the grass probably isn't rendering anyways, and I'll and I'll get domed. But like, it's got a lot of those same issues for me, and also, this might surprise you guys. I don't know, maybe not.
I
A lot
hate
of my guys-
SMDM too, by the way. So I'm right there
Oh, you
with you.
do?
I hate it.
Oh,
That's
what I'm
been
saying.
a
I
thought
running
you were gonna
trend.
say you love it.
No, this has been a running trend.
Hates it.
I will die on this. Like, I hate it. I'm so over it, and I don't care if I get crucified in chat for it. I think SMDM, the biggest thing for me is it plays the same every time I play it. Especially for armor, I'm always going the same spots every time. If I'm playing infantry, I'm always putting the garrisons in the same spot. Like if it's what is it, the farm or whatever on the far right middle point, I'm always setting a garrison in the top right corner of that point every single time. Like
Mhm.
every time I play that point. So it's just like for me, a more fun. Look at this. A lot of people like Drill. So Drill is the favored map out of the two by 77%. Um, but for me, a fun map is a map like Kharkov, for example. And I know a lot of people like Kharkov and a lot of people don't. I think Kharkov, one thing that I really, really enjoy about it, and I feel the same way with the LL main at the moment, is there's different lanes. I like how each lane plays differently and you can approach it differently. Where SMDM, I don't care what you're playing, I'm always playing the middle of the map every time. That hill in the
Yeah,
center is so instrumental to all map
right,
control. If you don't have that,
right.
you're going to lose the game, period. And like, there's no way to go around that. So that's why I like a lot of those dynamic games where you can have a map that feels big because LL Main is the same size as every other map. But LL
Mhm.
Main, Foy, Kharkov, those feel like some of the biggest maps, but they're the same size as every map. It's just because they have different topography and get different lanes that makes it feel more dynamic. More movement, like around, like you said, like living environments or living battlefields. I love that style of play. I hate Hill 400 because I don't like to sit there and wait for a movement like a T-Rex or something, you know? That's why I struggle to enjoy SMDM.
Okay, that's fair. And I echo a lot of the same reasons, and also just the frequency, and it just, I don't know. I tend to get frustrated on it. But again, then I have a great match, and
Yeah, and then
it's
it's like,
kind of
all
forgiven
right, I
for a
can.
while.
Yeah,
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 it's pretty good.
exactly.
It's actually pretty good. So I think going back to what Fresh said earlier, like there's no, I think it's safe to say like there's no one map that I think is just bad. Even Purple Heart Lane, even Kursk, like I don't think they're bad. I just think they're much more heavily dependent on the points that you get and
Hmm.
the game mode and your team and whether or
Yeah.
not people are building Gary. Just the
Yeah.
strategy, and you can't really blame a map for that. I do think the maps in Hell Let Loose, like I'm so spoiled one of the things about like playing Postscriptum in comparison, like in many ways, there's things that Postscriptum does, like the audio, the weapon details, like some of the handling, like really cool. But then like I walk into a building that's the same carbon copy, and I know that Hell Let Loose does a little bit of carbon copy too, that a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
reusing some assets, but like when you walk into a house, there's a rug crumpled up, there's dishes on the table, there's hats on the hat rack, there's the chipped paint on the windowsills, like
Yeah.
the level of detail that makes it feel real and cinematic compared to
Like
like
lived in. Like
Hmm.
yeah,
postscriptum, there's nothing inside the vehicle or inside the
Postscriptum
houses.
looks like this room. It's like there's nothing on the walls. It's just fucking plain as can be. Like, and then you go
Yeah.
into the next room and it's like it's the same room, but we reversed it.
Yeah. Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa.
It's
But
all
I
very
hear you.
empty and very clean.
yeah, I was gonna say earlier, I am not a tanker
Yeah, yeah.
in any game. It just doesn't do anything for me.
We need to get you in a
I res-
tank. All I'm saying.
what?
We need to
Well,
get you in a
okay.
tank.
I, my I have never tanked in Hell Let Loose,
What?
and I am. This is funny. I'm making a tank guide, but I've got some guys in my Discord who are
Oh,
hardcore
nice.
tankers.
There you go.
They run it all
Good.
the time. So the three of those guys are helping me. Basically, I'm kind of writing the script and
Yeah,
having
yeah.
them fact check everything. And I'm gonna just I'm just gonna lean into that and say I'm not a tanker. So here's some guys that are. They know what they're talking about. Fresh. If I wouldn't mind running it by you. Just take a
Yeah,
look.
if you want to.
Fact check it for me.
We need to
Um,
run a 3-man tank, I'm telling you. So
I
we'll
don't know,
take you
dude.
out.
That's gonna be one of those things where we might ruin it for him because after that, it's like if he likes it, he'll never
I
like
know.
taste it that often.
I'm telling you, we've taken so many people out, and once they have it,
Yeah.
they're like, "Wow, this is a totally different game."
Yeah, then they go and try and take with randoms, and they're like, "This
Yeah, they're like,
fucking
"Oh, this is
sucks."
terrible." Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, the very concept of like playing the entire match, looking out a small periscope or like a small square bothers
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, it's one
Um,
of those things where it really matters who you're doing it with. It
Yeah.
really,
yeah,
it's 100% about who you're doing it with
I
because
would
that's
say
I'm a little.
shooting
yeah,
is fun to jump into.
yeah,
Shooting is super fun.
I'm sure it's like I think if you get into a group of guys that you run a tank with all the time, like you probably know like when someone farts, oh that was fresh.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm sure it's like the camaraderie's got to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Similar,
it's
probably
legit.
similar to like Scotty and I. Like, by the way, we're brothers in real life. So
Oh,
Oh
nice.
this is
nice.
my
What's up,
actual
Scotty?
brother. But we run recon together, and like part of it's probably because we're brothers, but we just gel.
And
Like
it's just like you
we
just
think the
know what
same.
other. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
And that's super important from what I've heard with tanking and what it seems
Hmm.
obvious, right? Like the more you can think alike as one. And I also think it's like whenever I see a tank, because I don't play tank and I don't think about like there's three guys in there potentially, like
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
see it, it's just the tank. It's not like there's nobody inside of it. It's just like that's a thing that's trying
Hmm.
to kill me. Like I think of it as a single entity, right?
And then
So
you can
it's
kind
kind
of
of funny.
tell it's like, oh, okay, the driver's moving this way. Like we're like breaking it down. We're like, okay, driver's moving. It's gonna blow a shot. The gunner's not gonna be able to turn. Like we're all thinking
No,
that.
I don't.
Yeah,
That is one part of my game that I need to like. I think this tank guide's really going to help with,
that's awesome.
I guess, reverse engineering what's actually happening. Like, well,
Yeah,
because I always just assume that that thing can see me if I'm in front of it, but if I go behind it, it can't see me. Like because I'm stupid, and I think that it's like got eyeballs on the front of it, or so like a
yeah,
fucking
like
Pixar Cars
headlights or
tank
something.
or
Yeah,
something. But yeah, I don't. So it's like there's things that as many hours as I have in the game, and being like the guide guy, that like I have so much a noob when it comes to tanking. I did promise
yeah.
these three guys that are helping me that my first tanking game would be with them, and
There
that
you go.
we'll
Yeah, do
record
it.
it, and I'll put it out no matter how bad it is. I'll put it out. But I would totally roll with you guys too at some
Yeah,
point.
anytime you
Oh
want to come
yeah,
out,
good
that'd be a
time.
good time. Like you'll
I don't know what.
see, it just like the flow. You'll start understanding kind of the call outs and stuff because there's like very standardized kind of call outs that we have. And I think like all the beer guys, like our group, like we all know the call outs, like the
Mhm.
ass right, the ass left, like the ranging, stuff like that. And it does take time to kind of get the feel for it and the best practices. But if you have a good tank commander, like Fresh is really good at like being very clear and concise. So it's
So
very
good,
important to have that.
dude. Fresh, I gotta tell you too, like, because you didn't always tank, right? I mean, you
No,
probably always tanked, but you weren't like a primarily like
I
you have
still play
content,
a lot of
older
infantry.
content. That's yeah,
Yeah.
okay. It's like I mean, I think you're probably similarly like how I'm like the guide, specifically like
Yeah,
the guide for
definitely.
new people guy. I mean, you're the tank guy in everybody's mind,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like,
Yep.
that was a choice that I made. I remember
yeah,
when I first like did a couple tank videos. I'm like, no one's doing this, and I kind of just took off. I'm like, well, I guess I'm just gonna do this now. And I still
super
really enjoy
smart. I
playing it.
mean,
But I play infantry probably like half the time, honestly.
well, and that's like I think I guess the war correspondents or the content creators, whatever you want to call us. I think that's one thing that's been kind of cool is how we've all found little niches that don't
Yeah.
necessarily step on the other ones. Like you're the tank guy. Everybody knows you're the tank guy, right?
Yeah.
I do guides, and they're kind of not fully for new people. They started out that way. I have some more advanced stuff too, but like I'm kind of the guide guy. But I also throw in like dick jokes all the time. Like
Yeah, dude, you got
I
it. You
don't like
got it. You can't be boring.
I'm like the champion of like pub matches, right? Like I'm not. I have no comp experience, so like I can't speak to like I could put together a guide that's probably completely different if it was for comp. I'm talking to like the
Yeah.
everyman pub match
Correct.
guy, where it's like, well, ideally you want to have like 10 engineers doing this, but like you're probably only gonna get two, and
I'm all
you're
about the
probably only
pub
gonna
life.
get one supply box. Like so I'm trying to make it like your everyday player can relate to
That's
it.
good.
No, that's
You've
exactly what
got
you should do. I agree with that
yeah,
100%.
There are so many people that just don't understand how to tank or don't understand how to kill tanks. And I mean that kind of goes along with like one of the big things with the update 14, like killing tanks. And I think like I don't know if you've heard the controversy about the Firefly at all right now. It's
It's
bad,
a
Soul.
lot going on with that tank.
It's bad. Have you
well,
what have you heard, Benny?
so regarding tanks in general,
I guess
so it
the
sounds like you don't have
Firefly in
like hull
particular.
MGs. So
Yes.
you're
So
immediately at a disadvantage. Now, do none of them have a hull MG?
the Firefly specifically, which is the only heavy tank that does not
Okay.
have a hull MG. The Cromwell does though, and the other ones do. The Tetrarch and the what's well no, the standard light tank, or sorry, the recon tank doesn't, right? what is it called? The
Daimler,
yeah,
Daimler, I don't
Daimler,
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 yeah.
Dahmer. I don't know, one of those.
Dahmer.
But the thing with the Firefly at the moment, and I want to kind of see maybe your perspective. So at the moment, it is terrible. So there's a couple things that make it terrible. So one, you mentioned the Hull MG, right? No Hull MG. Um, Two, it's probably the slowest, if not the slowest, to maneuver. Like even worse than the IS-1 at the
So
moment.
I have a theory on that, and
Go
it's
on.
because we're going back to how we're talking about loss was made by black matter. This tank was probably made so long ago because it has the same mobility as the old medium Sherman
Like the
before they fixed
OG.
that. It's the
Mm,
exact same. It's the exact same mobility. So I think this tank was just made that long ago and nobody checked it or something.
Yeah.
They just threw
yeah.
it in there because
That's
it's
that very
terrible.
well could be because I
Yeah.
mean they've been talking about the Brits. They've committed to
Hmm.
publicly stating like the British will be coming to LLUs for like I don't know
Years.
I don't know
Yeah.
how many
Years. Yeah.
year
Yeah.
plus definitely maybe
Because
years.
there's no reason for it to have this mobility otherwise. It's not in the game with any
Right,
other tank anymore. So
Yeah.
right.
that's
There's
gotta be the reason why it
And
has
then
it.
the
there's
tank
some weird.
itself, it can be killed by mediums from the front, by the two, like there's two solid plates on the front and the hull by Piats. Oh, sorry, Panzer Shreks, and by medium tanks. So
Okay,
it has the worst
I
mobility, doesn't have a hull MG, and can be killed from all infantry and medium tanks.
I will
So like,
add that yeah, it's pretty dumb. A heavy tank should not be able to take AT from the front, but I do like the idea of a heavy tank having smaller weak spots in the front that a medium can pen, but it needs to be for all heavy tanks, otherwise it doesn't work like this. So
right.
it's like I like the idea of it, but it's
Well,
like, well, shit, you got to put it on everything now, otherwise it's just not working.
kind of yeah. I mean, because then you start getting into that conversation too of like asymmetrical balance where it's
right.
like you know kind of like how it used to be like essentially M1 Garand versus Car 98. People
Hmm.
bitched and they went, okay, fine. We're going to give every other class an SMG or a semi-auto rifle, the
Mhm.
G43.
Yeah.
And I mean, looking back at it, like I'm over it. Like it doesn't really bother me anymore, and it's nice when you played, as the Germans to be able to have the G43. But like there's certain like concessions you have to make, I think, for in the name of gameplay, and there's got to be some balance. But I do think it's important that factions feel unique
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
things don't feel copy paste. But yeah, to your point, like if I can, if I can do it in this match where I can pen this heavy in the front if I hit it in just the right spot and I'm skilled enough to make that shot. But then in
Hmm.
the next match because we switch teams, I just can't. I don't have that option. That kind of sucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it goes
Um,
back to tanking before U10. Would I don't know how familiar you are with what was going on before then. Like the 76 used to have these were all like bug weak spots, but it was really fun to use. Like the 76 used to have a
yeah,
bag on the side that you could shoot from the front and it would blow it up in one hit. The
yeah,
Panther, you could pen the cupola and get
yeah,
that from up there. So it's like weak spots historically, I think people really, as far as tanking goes, really enjoyed, and I think they want to
Yeah.
see more of it. And I think this is a
yeah.
step in the right direction, but they fucked it up by not doing it to everything else. Like, there's no reason for this to exist without doing it to everything else. That's the thing. I don't
Right.
understand why it's in there.
The question is, was it a design choice? Was it a conscious decision, or was it
Yeah.
some holdover code from way the hell
Yeah.
back when they were just like putting together tank models and shit? That
I think
was,
they forced this into the heavy roll.
It,
I think there was supposed to be a Churchill, and they
I
said,
think so too.
we don't want to do that, and they forced this tank into the heavy roll.
I think right
hmm,
now it's in a spot where it should have been, or it was trying to be the first tank destroyer in the game.
Yeah,
That's what I think.
because it feels like
And
that's what it is right now.
yeah, but right now on itself, like on its own, it just drives so bad.
Well, yeah,
And
and it goes
it
back to
just,
the meta and everything. It's like the
there's,
fuel. If it's going to cost as much a heavy, it needs to
yeah,
act like a heavy. Otherwise, the game's not balanced.
yeah, it's
yeah. I
really
mean,
bad.
there's certain again to make a because I'm not a tanker, but to make like a weapon comparison, it's like
Yeah.
how many people prefer the carbine? I got yelled at for that one the other day. Over the M1 Garand. Like I understand it you maybe can get shots off a little bit faster, it's a little bit more controllable, but outside of that, like for
Yeah.
me to give out to give up the long range shots ability to draw people from range.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's so much more limited. I don't want to have to double tap people, and it's just we call it the long pistol, but like,
Yeah.
like it's similar to that in my mind, where it's like not everything has to be the same, but like there's no reason to use certain things.
Dude, that gun used to be the best gun in the game
It
before
was
they
it
before they did
really did.
the changes.
That thing
That gun was
slapped.
crazy.
It used
Yeah.
to be a nasty because you had the power and the range, but you could just do.
Yeah, hit
Just
when it was back when it was hit scan.
God,
yeah,
hit scan
the hit
was
scan days,
rough.
yeah.
Those nuts times you could just
That
rip
was
people apart from across the
OP.
map with that gun.
That was nuts. So there's a lot of issues with the guns, or apparently, for the British forces. So I haven't tested anything specifically personally. But from my experience, I played a ton. So I played about 12 hours on the first day, played like 4 or 5 hours yesterday, and a handful of hours today. Still spotter in the back. um, but from my experience, the British forces have only won 3 times. And one of the things we did on our server is we went ahead and ran back to back. So we'd do drill, L main. That way you could swap teams every single time, right? So
Right.
both people would get to play either side. But three
Right.
times out of like 20, 30, 40 games I played, however many, the British have won. I personally think there's something wrong with the guns being zeroed. I've heard a rumor in my chat that someone said like some of the comp team tested it, and the squad leaders are currently zeroed, but like the infantry, the guns are not zeroed. I had Nano when we first loaded into it. He had, I think, the Bren or the Lewis, I can't remember, but he was shooting it, and it was shooting above. Like you see the tracers, and the tracers are shooting above the actual muzzle. So
Hmm.
I don't know if you've had any experience where one team has been winning over the other on a consistent basis, but I don't feel personally that the game is balanced. Again, I'm okay with asymmetrical, like that's fine, like we were mentioning, but I don't know if the teams are necessarily balanced as of yet. I don't know if you've experienced any of that.
So I haven't. I guess I didn't do like an analysis or really pay
Yeah,
special attention to that. So, but I do think, and maybe Scotty and some of the other Soul guys in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's been a little more even for us.
really.
I wouldn't say I'm guessing the Germans have won more. Like from what I've played, I didn't notice necessarily like a certain faction feeling like they had a mass advantage. But again, I was sniping. I know that some of the British weapons have issues, and I've definitely heard about like the weird,
Yeah.
the sight misalignment that happens is a little
Yes.
extreme, and it doesn't happen to the other guns. So it's like if you're gonna implement a new feature for one faction, it's got to be done across all. If that's the choice you want to make
Yeah.
the front and back post or whatever misalign when you move the gun around, fine. But like you got to make the freaking M1 Garand do it. You got to make them all do
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Especially the Germans because they're playing directly against each other. But I think it's been a little more even. What do you guys in chat think?
Yeah,
Is
no, honestly, I think our server's probably like a hard extreme. Because I know OP was a little more even, but that's still even then, from what I heard, even on OP, the Germans were winning most of them, but it wasn't as bad as ours. Our server
And
seems
that's
to be
like,
like on the extreme and stuff.
yeah, and I mean, even different servers have a little bit different feels because, like,
yeah.
admittedly, mine's probably packed with a higher percentage of people who are pretty new and trying to learn
Yeah.
Yeah.
versus like maybe the OP. Like their community is built around comp, right?
Mhm.
Mine is built around like, hey, we're noobs. Come,
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
show you how to do
Yeah.
this. Come play with us, and we're just goofing. So
Mhm.
it's like it's a totally different vibe between certain communities and servers. So maybe that has something to do with it as well. Where like, but I do think I'm guessing the British overall are at a bit of a disadvantage with the Firefly,
Mhm.
with some of the issues with like the Bren. I heard the Bren is all kinds of fucked up, like with the
Yeah.
shoots to the left, and it's
Yeah.
like it's like you know it's like taking a piss after sex.
The recon card, the recon card that actually does the same shit, dude. We were messing
Oh, it
around. And
drifts.
Bill's like, I'm just holding W, and all of a sudden we're just like we're just veering off. It's
Yeah.
so weird. There's some weird stuff like that in there.
I like the
Yeah.
Um,
sounds of the guns, but they sound almost uh like extra loud. Like they sound way louder than every gun in the
there's
game.
some beef to it, dude. There's some beef to it.
But it's
Yeah, but
not just volume. I think they've
it's a
added some
game.
like mechanical noise almost where you can hear like, more of the mechanics, which is like if you look at like postscriptum sound design, like you Hell Let Loose is kind of like you've got the initial like bang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe and I always thought they were a little too bassy. I still actually kind of do. In fact,
In
I
Hella
run
Loose.
Yeah,
in
hell
Hell Let
loose.
Loose.
I would
run
agree.
an
I would
EQ.
agree. Yeah.
Yep, I run an EQ software that just takes some of the bassiness out of it, and
Needs
it
more
was like so like if you
crack
shoot a
and snap.
R98, it's more of a crack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not everybody's cup of tea. That it's so subjective because you get people that are like, "Oh, that sounds so beefy," and other people that's like, That's not what a rifle sounds like. That's like an
Yeah.
artificial boom." But I like and again, I'll speak to the sniper rifle. The British sniper rifle sounds. I mean, it's a big sound, but I feel like there's more of a mechanical sound to it, like almost like you can hear the trigger being pulled or something. It's got this like
Mhm.
clickiness mixed in there somehow of like metal parts, like
Yeah. It
it's
sounds
best
great.
way I can explain
It's
it. It
just
sounds good.
it's just extra loud. Because
It's
I
yeah.
was
Yeah.
I was thinking like when I first started, I was like, I wonder if I'm gonna have to get used to all the different sounds again. They're gonna sound totally different. I have to figure out like within the first 5 minutes, I was like, oh, that's a Bren. Like that, I could tell that immediately. Oh, that's a Lewis gun, like right away.
The Lewis gun is like,
So
oh
different.
shit, like
Yeah, they're
it's
so
like
different. I
yeah,
love that though,
it's
and I mean the models look
yeah.
great. I just to your point, I think they need to maybe go and do another pass of audio because Postscriptum is like the pinnacle of audio.
Yeah, Raz and I always talk about this, especially with the
Pinnacle,
tanking side of things. Like the
Oh,
audio and
yeah,
postscriptum
it's
is
sick.
like it's
phenomenal.
Hell
fucking
Let Loose has come a
phenomenal.
long way,
Oh
Has yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
but it's closed the gap a good amount, but there's still just like the spatial audio and even just the tank, like the ricochets and stuff in
That
postscript.
oh my gosh, I
Just
know.
yes,
That
beautiful.
whistle sound.
Yeah,
I
the
need that
whistle.
Fury whistle sound. I told
Yeah.
Wombat, I was like,
Yeah,
Wombat,
we
if
we've
there's
we've
anything
been
we do,
begging for this. Like
please.
like
I,
if
I'm a
you want a quick route to making tanking 200% better, just
Yeah.
redo the sound and the explosions.
Yeah.
And that's then all of a sudden taking
What
so
is up
much
with the
cooler in the game.
explosion? Like the
They didn't even
explosion is
fix that yet, did
still
they?
broken.
Yeah, it's still
Where
broken.
it's like in the middle of the 2D animation, you see it flickering. Like it's so weird.
Yeah, it's double still,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't
yeah.
know.
I would like to see more believable optics for both tanks and like scoped rifles with, in regards to like just kind of like the scope parallax kind of misalignment that
Oh
briefly
yeah.
happens, or like,
Mhm.
just the fact that it's just like blacked out and
It's
blurred,
just an
like 'cause
overlay.
Yeah.
Like
it's
Yeah.
just an over.
yeah,
Everything
it's
feels like an
not.
Yep.
overlay.
Mhm.
That
No, that's
window,
what it is.
that's what drives me nuts about it. I'm like, how you just took my monitor and like you just it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it's actually in front of me.
Yeah.
It just feels like this
Well, they fixed
artificial
it.
overlay.
They fixed it. I remember the sniper rifles. They fixed once, but then it started jittering. Then they're like, okay, well, I guess we'll
Yeah,
fix it this
they have
way, and then
not
they
been
just
able
put
to
an
Yeah.
get them
overlay on it.
right.
Yeah, they
Right.
were not able to do it.
They've gone through several iterations. The previous one was like an actual picture-in-picture type look.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
to make it true, like where you're truly only getting the zoom through the scope and not the surrounding area, they have to like render them twice. Basically, everything gets rendered twice, so it just like it's not possible from a performance standpoint for Hell Let Loose. And then yeah, the weird jittering thing where it was like if you're facing like north or something, like
Yeah.
your crosshairs like
Just
yeah
shaking.
It was so
yeah
weird.
too much
So
coffee. It
weird.
was just so frustrating. But
Yeah,
like
I remember that one.
so like I'm glad that that's gone. But then it's back to like that shitty artificial like well we'll just block out everything with black. You know I don't love it. I wish they'd be able to figure that out. And same thing with tanks because like when I watch tanking gameplay. It's like I wish there was more of like interior modeling and the ability to maybe look around inside the tank a little bit or pop out the hatch or like just to make it a little more engaging to
They
watch.
just need animations getting in and out of the tank, if anything.
Right.
I know a lot of people ask for popping onto the hatch, but it's one of those things where once you start tanking enough, like you're
You
never
don't
going
want
to
to do
use
that.
you would
Yeah,
never
you don't
use
want
it.
to.
You would never
Right.
use
I've
it.
got this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it, but like, I guess I just mean more immersive.
No, I get you. No, that's
Yeah,
always the
like you
thing. It's
said,
like
like
as the people ask for is if it's going to change the game. A lot of times, it's like, nah, dude. You would just use it like driving out of HQ, then you're immediately buttoning up because
Yeah.
for
it's an
sure.
endless kind
What
of thing where it's like you're
when
just going
would
to
you
take
want to be
small
Like
poking
arms.
your head
one of the
out?
things a lot of people
Yeah.
always recommend is like, oh, do what, it's not realistic when you get shot. Like people should die inside the tank. Like Postscriptum does it. It's
Oh
awful.
God,
For
it's
Hell
terrible.
Loose, it would
It's
not
not fun.
work. It
Yeah,
just
it's
would
not
not
fun.
work.
Yeah,
The vehicles
Yeah,
don't move nearly as fast.
yeah.
right,
Hell Loose tanking is so much different than Postscriptum. If you started killing
right,
crew and Hell Loose, like it would just kill the whole tank system.
Yeah.
Like it just wouldn't be fun.
It's just not fast enough. Because I don't
Yeah.
know if you've seen the vehicles in Postscriptum, but the Daimler, that thing moves. That thing
it flips.
hauls some
Oh, dude, you could
ass.
send a Puma like in reverse in like fifth gear in
Yeah.
Postscriptum. It
And
was
that shit
wild.
is like across your screen in a second. It's
Yeah.
moving
Yeah,
like 80 miles an hour. It's fucking
right.
nuts. But
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's
it's one of those things where I always go back and I'm like, we played Postscriptum a few times, more than a few times even, and like it was fun for what it was, but it was just so much. Like the killing crew, the putting out the fires, you have to rep different components. It's
right,
not.
right,
It was so not Hell at Loose that I don't want Hell at Loose to become anything like that.
right.
yeah,
It would just kill the fun the spirit of Hell Loose tanking if it went the route of Postscriptum.
no
It's like there's
canteens.
this pyramid, right, where it's like on the bottom you've got Call of Duty, right, or like the super accessible games, and at the very top you've got like an Arma 3. That's the
Yeah.
way I think of it. So like
Agreed. Yeah.
I don't want a section of that pyramid towards the middle to be gone
Yeah.
because everybody wants it to be the second to top tier. So like taking Hell Let Loose and saying, well, it's got to be more like Squad. It's got to be more realistic. It's got to, it's got to have a stamina system. I want, that's great, but like we have that. We have Squad. We
Yeah.
have Postscriptum. Those
Yeah.
games exist. No other game exists to me in the tier that Hell Let Loose exists in. There's
Yeah.
not another game because it's that sweet spot game, but there isn't an alternative that
I
doesn't
agree.
either step down or step up.
Yeah.
Whereas I think, and that's one of the things to me when I look at Burning Lands, to me it's shaping up like it's gonna be in the same pyramid
Mhm.
tier as Hell Let Loose, where it's accessible, but it's definitely like got some elements of a more not milsim, but milsimy adjacent elements. And to me,
Yeah.
my absolute favorite thing about Hell Let Loose, and if they ever fuck with this, it will be a sad day. And then I'll make a video that's like, is Hell Let Loose dying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the time. That's the time.
Yeah.
Hell Loose is
That's when
already
I'm gonna
dead.
do it. I guess yeah, I guess I just don't care about enough about anything else. But if the time to kill gets fucked with, because to me,
Yes.
Yeah.
what makes a
Yes.
game immediately like in that tier of like, okay, this is a step up from the casual shit is like you can try to cross that field, but I'm gonna hit you. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna put
Yeah.
you down in one shot, and if it requires a follow up shot, you're gonna lay down as a as a reaction, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna hit you again. Like it's so unforgiving. So even though it doesn't have like super layered, like detailed, logistics systems like some of these other games do, it's still got something that's there and serviceable that's a little bit more involved, but it's that core like
Risk
gunplay
reward
of like,
aspect of it where,
yep, that unforgiving.
yeah, if you run out in the field, there's
You're
a
gonna
chance
die.
that you can get across, and there's a
Yeah.
big chance that you're gonna die. But
And
yeah,
this is where Hell
Yeah.
Loose becomes Hell Loose. It's like if you
Yeah.
die, you say, okay, and then there's no ticket system, which I fucking love. I will die on
Yeah.
that hill. You can redeploy and you're back to try it again. There's no stopping, there's no waiting. It's like that didn't
Yeah.
work. How do we do it differently now?
Well,
And I
and
think
Raz said
that's one of those
earlier,
big things.
agreed fully. Raz mentioned it earlier specifically, like how like superior positioning and like map knowledge and just like anticipation of common player tendencies, like those things are rewarded in Hell Let Loose.
Hmm.
And I don't have to be like I'm pretty gray. I'm in my mid 30s. Like I'm not fast twitch guy, like
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not Mr. like flick shot. So for me, like my whole game is very reliant on like superior positioning and
Yep.
anticipating like, if I'm in their boots right now, I'm probably going to go do that. I'm going to be coming from this angle. I'm going to be looking to set up a Gary over here and then flank around. And so I'll set up in anticipation of that.
because
that, like,
you understand the
that's what I
map,
love.
you understand where
Oh,
garrisons
dude.
most likely are, and you're setting
Right.
yourself up. Yeah, it's all about
Cole,
map
you would
knowledge, map
love
control.
tanking if you got in with the right
I
crew.
think
What you just
so.
what you just
Yeah,
described is
that's all
like
tanking is.
that's all tanking is.
I'm gonna be so fucking garbage in my first map.
No, 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 no.
I've
No,
told
Just
the
dude,
guys, like,
no, no.
trust me, I'm gonna
Yeah.
suck. And I don't know what position I'm
Nope.
gonna, like, what role
No,
I'm
it's
gonna
all
play
good.
yet.
gunning,
Get in the gun. Get in
probably.
the gun and
Yeah.
have a driver
Yeah.
and a commander, and that's how you start tanking.
There's little
That's
to no
but
drop within like 400 meters. So just
yeah,
aim and shoot always to the hull. That's the best
yeah.
advice I can give
Got
you.
it.
Like always
Got
the
it.
Yeah.
hull.
Yeah, you're
Always
gonna have
in
a
the
great
hole.
time. Like if that's the aspect you enjoy, that's we talk about this all the time, but that's the aspect of tanking that really it's not the actual tank system. It's like the gameplay, like the what you just described is what makes it so
Right.
good.
Yeah.
So
Gosh,
I think you'll have a good time.
you're fucking fantastic in your gameplay videos, like Raz said earlier, like the mind you have and the ability to, like, communicate concisely. Like,
Yeah.
you don't there's no fluff. You're very
I owe it a lot to
efficient.
people being very predictable.
Yeah.
Well,
I
that's
try to explain that to people.
we joke about that all the time.
I'm like,
Just
Hell
just
at Loose is so predictable, and that's why I'm so good at
yeah.
tanking.
That's how Scotty and with Recon, like, our play style is very much like we want your garrisons, we want your nodes.
Yep.
Like,
Mm.
yes, I will have moments where I'll find a good spot and it's like, I'm gonna stick around here, you go find the garrisons. But, like, I don't like to, like, necessarily sit on a hedgerow and camp in a cheese spot and just rack up like 90 kills. It's like I prefer to be running around, like, being a fucking menace to that, like,
Yeah.
picking off
Dude, I
the
agree.
commander out of the truck, and, like, I
Yep.
love the feeling of, like, God, they must be pissed,
Dude,
and,
recon
like,
recon when you don't have to deal with artillery is so much
The
fun.
best. The
It's like
best.
one of the
Yeah.
best parts of Hell at Loose.
Agreed.
yeah,
So we're getting
yeah.
close to the end here. I know we're going a little bit over, but I did want to go ahead and kind of touch base on like Team 17 and kind of the future of Hell Loose. So the future of Hell Loose, they mentioned 1939, 1940, and they're going to do 1 year of each for the war. So Soul, like, where do you anticipate Hell Loose kind of going? Do you anticipate that it'll evolve quite a bit? And like, do you have faith in Team 17?
I mean, 100% it's going to evolve. I mean, if you just look at some of the new game modes that they're looking at with, the breakcourt battery stuff. I can't remember what they're called right now, but the more limited small scale game modes. I'm a little bit not concerned, but I'm interested to see how that's going to work. Like, so if I'm setting my map rotation for the day, right?
Oh, you're
Like,
gonna need a new server. You're gonna need another
right.
server
Yeah.
dedicated to
So
it.
that's what
'Cause
that's what I'm.
it's-
Yeah,
I think
because
it's
if
the
you
only
got
way it
100
works.
people in there, and all
Only
of a
way it
sudden it's
works.
going to be
Yep.
yeah.
Kicks
So,
everyone
like,
out.
Yeah.
so there's a lot of logistics that I think they've got to figure out, and I don't think they necessarily know and they don't do
Mm.
PTEs. So it's like, I think there's going to be some rocky road ahead. I think that they're from, like, their ability to put together, like, new content and the speed at which I think they'll be able to sort of start ramping up and accelerating the game. Like, even just looking at the roadmap, it was like, how the fuck, like, this is all this year?
Yeah.
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 God damn. And I think we're in pretty good hands. I just think there's certain things like I was talking about the maps being so damn detailed, and I don't even necessarily mean like topographically, like historically, but like the detail in, like, spent artillery shells in the mud and, like, footprints and dead chickens, and, like, I'm a little concerned about, like, what is going to look like when these completely different mappers take over. Are they going to give
Yeah.
that same attention to detail? Are they going to put a Soul Sniper Easter egg in the map somewhere? Because I missed that boat completely, and you boys.
Raz got all ours in there. That's all on Raz.
I told him, I said, I'm not going to say it. Never mind.
after.
Never mind. Yeah, but no, I again, I'm just kind of cautiously optimistic with Team
Yeah.
17. I think that we can't even judge it so far because what they've
Yeah.
the transition period alone, I think people got it. Like, I get frustrated with, the gaming mindset of, like, we want this content now. If you delay this, we're going to be pissed. But when it comes out, if it's not fully tested and absolutely perfect, I'm going to be pissed. Like,
Yeah.
it's impossible. So I've come to accept that there's going to be bugs and issues. I just know there is.
Yeah.
how they respond to those, whether they sweep them under the rug and just go, well, hey, we've got this new here jacket with
Oh, I think we
the
lost him. Oh,
snazzy
there he
stuff,
is. There you go.
like that's yeah. Like, are they gonna focus on that,
Yeah.
or are they truly gonna like these game analytics that seem to be causing
Oh
havoc on
God.
some of our servers? Like,
Yeah.
please put those to use. Like, if you're gonna do
I
that,
hope I,
I
I
really
hope it
hope.
pays off because that fucking sucks.
Yeah,
Agreed.
yeah. So cautiously optimistic, but yeah, I mean, I was like, I did not see like the finish courses coming, and like there was
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
things with the roadmap that I was like, whoa, like you were like you took what Black Matter gave you, and you're like, okay, cool, I'm just gonna slide this over here. We're gonna do this. Like, it was so
Yeah.
different in many ways that it was like, wow, and it's exciting, but it's like I just hope their vision. I wonder if their vision and I don't know how fast they've scaled up. It makes it sound like they're hiring these people, building this studio, like, because it's May, it's almost June. Like,
Yeah.
looking at that roadmap, yeah, you just did the British, but like,
There's another update coming in like 2 months.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like, are you really going to be able to hit all these? Especially considering what they've released so far has been like, holdover, not holdover. What's the word? It was Black Matter, right? So like,
Mhm.
I'm reserving judgment until we get a full proper Team 17 release.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's really
Yeah.
fair. And also we being like the war correspondents, like we have our own channel with like Wombat and a couple other people on Discord. So we do hear probably more than what the average player does. So it's like there's some things where I'm like, I wish you see people complaining about
Yeah.
certain stuff. You're like, I wish I could just fucking tell you like it's gonna be
Mhm.
okay, and they're saying like it should be okay. So
Yeah.
it's probably easier for us to be a lot more optimistic about this game. I get it than the average player. I get why sometimes people are upset, but it's like there's fucking big things planned for this game.
Yeah. I mean, they're people. They're doing their best.
Yeah,
They want to create something cool. They're not. People are quick to, oh, they're just doing a cash grab. They're just trying to suck as much money out of this thing as possible. You know what? Like, if you're an employee and you're not trying to like make a business profitable, like, you gotta. Of
Yeah.
course they are. Like,
yeah.
they're a business at
They
the end of
spend a
the
lot of
day.
money on this shit. They
Yeah,
gotta make that
yeah.
back.
This isn't just, it's not just some free passion project that hopefully my hope is that it is a passion project that they're also trying to monetize. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
They'd be horrible, a terrible business if they didn't do that. So it's like, uh, yeah, as long as the cosmetics are strictly cosmetic and don't turn into pay to win, pay to,
Yeah.
whatever, I'm good with it. Like, I'll buy a lot of that shit just to,
Oh, I buy
one,
all of it.
support the game, and two, just to have. I want the freaking cape or the pointy hat or whatever. I want my guy to look goofy.
That pointy hat
Yeah.
is absurd.
That
Uh,
Scotty wears it all the time. It's the
no,
beacon. It
yeah.
tells you where the garrisons are.
Exactly. No, I agree. I agree with both of you. I mean, I think I was afraid you were gonna pull a husk, Fresh. I was like, where are you going?
Nope.
But husk is wild. And yeah. So I agree with you, both of you. I mean, I think that there's so much potential for the game. I think it's genius, and it's kind of silly how we haven't seen a game do the same concept of 1 year of the war. Um, Here's hoping to like the Italians, the Japanese. I'm calling it right now. And this I have no idea on. I have no idea. 100%. I want to be very clear. I am telling you, I feel the Japanese are coming because I've like seen a lot of the marketing
and like
stuff.
2 or 3 years probably though,
Yeah,
right?
no, I agree.
Well,
Yeah, yeah. But like I've seen a lot of the marketing, and like every single dev briefing, they're putting such a huge focus on 1 year of the war, 1 year of the war at a
Yeah.
time, 1 year of the war at a time. So I really think, yes, a couple years later, right? Like 1942, 1943, but like, dude, Guadalcanal,
So
Iwo
what
Jima.
happened? What do we get in
That's what I'm saying.
1940? You think? I guess that would be the next one. Like we know what we're getting in 1939, right? Like this year's 1939.
That's early war,
next-
right? Panzer III next year, I would
What would
imagine.
be 1940?
Panzer III, you're gonna see like a lot. I guess you see more Russian stuff, right? More Russian stuff, and maybe some, maybe more Netherlands stuff
I have
potentially,
no clue.
like the Brits as they got pushed out of Europe. I think.
Mhm.
But I think the Panzer III next year, I would imagine. because I was early war, right? And I know, so for you guys that don't know, I play with Gritson on what's it called? Oh my god, I always get the name wrong every single time.
The
Uh,
strategy game you guys
yeah,
play?
the RTS game, and it's a World War
Oh,
II
it's like Men of
RTS.
Honor or something. I don't remember. What is it? I don't know.
Busco, you gotta help me with the
Gates of
name.
Hell. It's Gates of Hell.
Company of
Yes,
Heroes or
Ostfront,
something?
Ostfront.
I don't know.
Osprey,
So
yeah.
Okay.
I always run the Panzer III, and like when we do like early war stuff, that's like the tank. So I'm always thinking like some of those like Panzer IIIs, like the early versions of the Panzers, stuff like that. I would love to see those in game battling maybe some of the early like British stuff next year. And then again, like later on, maybe some asymmetrical Japanese stuff where, yeah, they had terrible tanks, but look, like Battlefield 5 did a great job of like taking their terrible tanks and kind of making them somewhat able to go against it. Maybe more, infantry focus, like Rising Storm, right? Took the Vietnamese versus the Americans. Americans had so much shit, but like they were able to take the Vietnamese and have like hidey holes where they could kind of go through and like have the full assault rifles where the Americans could only have pistols and like
Yeah.
run through the tunnels. So some more influence on asymmetrical gameplay, maybe some more bombing runs or like the Katusha style strikes, battleship like shoot overs, whatever. But I honestly have so much potential for this game. I think just leverage these smart materials. I want my Firefly to look beautiful. Um, but yeah, man, I'm super excited, super excited. So
Yeah,
yeah,
me
man.
too. I think when I saw that roadmap and the way that they announced the 1 year of the war thing, it just immediately made you go, okay, so you're developing this project for years to come.
Yeah, which is
Yep.
It's not like
interesting. Not Hella Loose
yeah,
Fun
too.
commentary,
Yeah.
as always.
yeah. Well, I mean, other than like Unreal Engine 5, like what's the point if you're gonna keep releasing new theaters and new factions and vehicles? Like, I mean, that's all shit that you would do in Hell Let Loose too, unless you're
Yeah,
completely switching,
like battles,
wars.
like wars. Yeah,
Yeah. Which I mean, shit, they could even say, okay, well, we did, 1 year of the war, and next thing we're gonna do is first year of Vietnam,
yeah.
or whatever, Korea. I don't know.
Incredible. That would be incredible, man.
So,
Vietnam, Hella Loose would be great.
but at some point, I mean, yeah, at some point the game will die,
Yeah,
as they all do, and something new will come up. But like, yeah, I mean, I was happy to see that they were 100% behind this and planning content that far out and really kind of committing to the game. That
yeah,
was
man.
nice. So, aside from something going horribly awry, or just like for some reason, if the player base dries out and the new hot freshman Battlefield game comes out or something, and I mean, you never know what's going to happen. But
Yeah,
like, yeah, I think we're in a good spot with Team 17, and yeah, let them prove you wrong or right, guys, before you make a judgment. That's all I ask.
I agree.
absolutely, absolutely. So, any closing statements here, Soul?
Bless Trap 32 bless.
There
That's all
you
I have.
go.
It's an inside joke. Most people won't know what it means. That's okay.
Heck
No,
yeah.
come play on the server. Come say hi to me. Check out the channel. Get yourself some. Listen, if you don't want to wear the Soul Sniper logo, I just made some. I just made some new merch that says "Killed in Action, Space to Redeploy."
Oh, nice.
That's pretty
It's
good.
pretty sick. So, and then I got some other ones, some send nodes I'm gonna do.
Oh, that's a good one too.
So yeah, just some more fun shit like that. That's more relatable because I get it. Like I love this, but I yeah I don't expect anyone else to really walk around the street with my merch on. So it was more just a fun thing so that I could get some of my own merch.
I did the same thing. I have like a whole
Yeah.
like fresh baked goods line and then like a couple beer shirts that really just our group of friends ordered. That's it.
Heck yeah.
Do you ever get like an 80-year-old woman on your channel that's like, "Where's all the recipes?"
Oh, yes, he has.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
he
have
has.
in the past.
I saw that
I've gotten
Or
comment.
some
like
weird
I get
stuff.
this vision of
Yeah.
of this old Esther, 80-year-old lady. She hops on her computer.
Yeah,
and she
because I
Googles
like
fresh-
literally I'm what pops up when you type in like
Yeah.
fresh baked goods on YouTube.
Yeah,
Like
I
there's
saw
no cooking
one.
channel. There's no cooking channels anymore.
Oh,
So it
I'm
used to
here.
be it used to be like all people being like, "Well, I came on here for a recipe, but I guess I'm like staying for this."
Yeah, exactly. That's the
get
comment
that
I
a lot.
saw.
I
Yeah.
get that a lot. I don't
Yeah.
own this game. I don't have a piece. Like I don't game.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm watching this, but this is fantastic. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, Okay.
Oh my gosh.
My
I don't know why you're
favorite
watching this
though
video. You
is
The
Rasner
bombing
cracking
run?
this is yeah, blowing up on TikTok was hilarious because apparently there's a huge portion of humanity that
Yeah.
can't tell a difference between reality and video games.
Mm-hmm.
So I would post like videos of admin cam bombing runs on TikTok, and it
Oh
would be just
no.
people like pray for Ukraine. People being like, "How could you
Yeah.
glorify war?" Blah blah blah, and it'd just be like people would like be
What?
duetting it, like crying. Like it
Yeah.
was
Holy shit.
It was
hilarious, is what it
so
was.
funny. People
I've
thought it was
Yeah.
never
100% real.
Yeah, people
yeah,
like
I
a lot of people, like not just like a couple people, a lot
a
of
lot.
people.
That's hilarious.
hmm
Closest I've had, I've had a lot of comments on my like how to react to taking fire. The thumbnail, it's from admin cam, like all the HUD's disabled. It looks
Yeah.
kind of realistic, and like I get so many people that are like, oh, this is a video game.
Oh yeah.
One guy said I wanted to know how to like react to taking fire out in the woods, and I was like, what are
What?
you doing? That like,
Yeah, what are you
unless you're
planning?
How'd you
actively
get
at
here?
war,
That comment got
please
on a
don't
list somewhere,
consult my
dude.
channel. Yeah, please don't
That's
put
so
your life
funny.
at risk based on my video game tactics. I
Too
need a
funny.
disclaimer on my channel, like I will not, waiver of all liability. Right?
Yeah, dude.
Some of it may work, some of it may not.
Too funny. Well, guys, definitely go ahead and check out Soul Sniper again if you're listening on Spotify or you're watching it on YouTube. The link will be in the bio as well. Obviously, check out my buddy Fresh Baked Goods. Soul, thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
here, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Absolute,
Thanks for the invite, man. It's been a blast.
absolute pleasure having you. All right, guys, signing off here. We'll be live right after this, and we'll be right back.